When you think of cities that are centers for creativity, New York, Los Angeles, or even Austin, Texas might come to mind. But why not Des Moines? When you stop to think, Des Moines has an incredibly vibrant arts scene. From the Civic Center to the Art Center or the Botanical Gardens, arts and culture is alive and well in central Iowa. But if you're a local artisan, where do you go to find an affordable space to develop and produce your creations? That's where Mainframe Studios enters the picture. Mainframe Studios is a non-profit organization located on Keogh Way in downtown Des Moines. This space is a 36-year-old 5-story building that was originally a telephone company data center.
Justin Mandelbaum is the founder. He was living on the East Coast and had some experience with art studio buildings. He was helping start Lowell, Massachusetts, Western Avenue Studios. And it was a commercial endeavor. So he found out that there is a flaw in the formula for art studio buildings, and there's a reason that artists continue to get priced out across the nation. It's because these studio buildings are privately owned, they get sold for higher and better use, they say in the real estate business, which means apartments or retail establishments or restaurants. Well, that happens again and again across the nation. We wanted to correct that flaw in the formula with Mainframe Studios by making it a nonprofit, making sure it's here for generations to come, serving artist community for generations to come. We really see it as a need to have in every community, much like an art center, our Des Moines Performing Arts, the opera. We have high-class, world-class art and culture organizations. We need to see infrastructure for the individual artists in the same way. So building an institution that includes the creative placemakers that are here every day, in and out. We're not event driven. We are making art here every single day. And it's pretty exciting, the variety that we have. I think, this year has been really tricky with the pandemic and a lot of economic downturns, and it's been a trick for a lot of people, but it's been interesting that our formula to be financially self-sustaining, business model, nonprofit, here for generations to come, is even working in times of crisis. And we are building out more floors. Our demand is huge. We have a very long wait list for spaces. I think it's because the affordability and the community and the exposure that these artists get to keeps the demand high. So it's really hopeful. I think we can take see a lot of hope in what we're experiencing here for the future. People have a bright outlook for the future. So we have 57 more studios coming open in early 2021, probably in March. We've already pre-leased those spaces to many artists, and we'll continue to do that until they open in March. And then we have one final floor to fund, and we've had generosity in Des Moines to help this project come to fruition. But we will be financially self-sustaining with this next floor, and then we'll even build our own endowment after that, which is great. So it means that artists have a place in the heart of our community for generations to come.
Let's take a short break before we get a glimpse into the past and current world of letterpress printing. Our first artists are the couple behind the Red Door Press. They have a great love for trying new things, so they dove headfirst into the world of letterpress and haven't looked back since.
We run the Red Door Press, which is a traditional letterpress print shop, which means that we use antique printing presses and old type to make posters, cards, stationery, wedding invites, just about anything you can think of.
So we're part print shop and part type house, meaning that we physically print with type for most everything that we do, and everything gets run through an antique printing press. So our presses go back to 1890, and then maybe the newest ones from the 70s.
Somewhere in there.
Ish. So we moved into Mainframe as part of the first wave, so back in 2017.
For us, a very well-built space is important, just to make sure that our equipment is safe and we're safe.
Yeah, we actually sought out this studio space because of the ability to move our shop. So moving a print shop is daunting and
Herculean
heavy.
undertaking, yeah.
So it worked out, and then it also kind of made us think about what we wanted to do once we moved into a space. Mainframe having its first Fridays and things like that, giving people a way to see us safely is important too. At the time that Mainframe was starting, I helped do a lot of volunteer work just to kind of get to know the building and what it meant for the community. So before anybody even moved in here, we had kind of a meeting about coffees and conversations where it was artists, community members, potential donors, and we just did this massive brainstorming session, which was to kind of say, this is what we thought a space like Mainframe could be. So for me, it was an opportunity to move our shop into more of a collaborative type of space. Being around other artists is a very different experience than being in your home or not having a studio at all.
The big hurdle, I think, is what a lot of small businesses face, which is that commercial space is expensive. And we looked at a lot of places that were really out of our budget. And, you know, at the point we had just kind of started to despair that we were going to be stuck in the garage forever, here comes Mainframe and provides a space that we could actually afford. And not only that, but actually helps with a lot of the other things that come with being a small business, you know, taking care of utilities and taxes and permits and all of these other things that take away from us being able to do what we like to do. Mainframe is covering all that. So we can just focus on printing. We don't have to, worry about all that administrative stuff. The story is a little different depending on who tells it. So from my perspective, way back in the foregone year of 2008, I came home from work and my fiance said, "Hey, you'll never guess what I got. It's out in the garage." And she was correct. I would never have guessed that it was a printing press from 1926 that weighed, more than 1,000 pounds and was on a rickety old pallet and was too dangerous to move around and didn't work. So that press came into our life, and over a couple of years, we figured out how to fix it up and met some people who told us how to use it, and we got some type, and we started printing, and here we are with 26 printing presses and more than 500 sets of type and all of the extra stuff that goes along with that.
Letterpress is a single color process, and so it's great to have a press, but there's all these parts and tools you need to actually be able to print, especially if you're using physical type. So one of the things that is very key to our shop is type. We have whole sets of type, meaning we can spell multiple words, not just ABC, and we do our design, or we come in with an idea and then we search for type that will fit that idea. From there, we have to physically set the type letter by letter. It may be itty bitty type, it could be huge foot-high type, depending upon what we're doing, whether it's a card or a poster or stationery. It may be a script face, it may be something easy readable, and then from there, everything gets set upside down and backwards, so that way when it prints right reading. It gets locked into a chase or a bed of a press, and so that way we can then print. We have to mix our ink colors, which is all done by hand, pick out our paper, get the press ready to actually print with, which is maybe one of the most time-consuming parts, so that way it prints exactly how we want it to look. If it's a multicolor print, our forms then get broken apart based off of every color, so that way each color can run through the press, and then we print. And for us, our shop is all manually operated for the most part. We have one press that's electrical. Everything else is run off of our hand and foot or both. So we print as fast as we personally can print. Some days that's really good, some days it's a little slower. So from there you're feeding the paper into the press and then you hopefully have a good outcome. And each press prints differently based off of its size. So if you're doing something small, you'll go to one type of press. If you're doing something larger, you have to go to a bigger press to be able to get that outcome. So now with letterpress printing, it's really the press is a tool, it's how we're printing. You can take digital design and that opens you up to all the typefaces that people have designed all over the world, whether they're good or bad. If you're an illustrator, you can take an illustration. If you're a business and you have a logo, so like us, for example, we actually take our logo and everything that's on the back of our greeting cards is turned into a copper die, so that way we can keep reusing it. And that's important because when we print greeting cards, we don't print like 10 at a time, we're printing thousands. And over time, your type will wear down. So we're very cautious when we're using physical type on how much we're printing, how hard we're printing it, so that way it lasts. And then you have businesses like DSM Mercantile, who's here in Des Moines. We do price tags and things for them, bags and stuff. And so we, again, get copper dies made. So you can have somebody who's illustrator, they'll send us a file, we'll get it made type high. It's something we can mix with physical type, or we can just print that design for somebody else. The big thing about letterpress is it's type squishing your ink into paper. So you're seeing a little bit of an impression when it's a die or a plate, then we can make that impression deeper. If it's type, we go a little bit lighter just for the sake of keeping our type intact for years after us.
The thing, what we're selling the most of kind of changes from month to month and year to year. Greeting cards are always popular. Who doesn't love getting snail mail? Posters, depending on the time of year, are great graduation presents, Christmas presents, the times when people are redecorating their homes, they come in and they see us because they need new art.
We do a lot of, we've started switching to do a lot of printing for other small businesses, so they're branding from bags to business cards. We'll have university classes come in and they have a special typography project, so they could be doing stationery or posters, and then when we are open for workshops, we get to let people come in and print with us, so they could print all sorts of things too. I guess we give an illusion that we're full-time artists and that we're here probably 24/7, but we both work separate full-time day jobs, not related to letterpress printing at all. We actually started this studio because I just needed a space to make things, and I had no idea it was going to morph into what it's become. The shop itself is kind of its own entity, so it's just something that I definitely don't take advantage of. I think it's great to be able to come and just make art, and the bonus is that people appreciate what we do and want to know about it, and that kind of opened the doorway to let us share it with the community, especially being here too.
There's really this happy overlap between things you really enjoy doing and things people appreciate enough to give you money for. And a lot of people aren't lucky enough to have found something that is both. And we found something we liked doing, and over time found people would, enjoy buying the stuff we made. So being able to do that is really important for us to, continue this hobby. Or this business rather, what was a hobby and is now much more. And
I think the part that people don't see as a letterpress shop, which is something we get to share with Des Moines, is that our community within letterpress is one of the best reasons to be a printer. We get to meet people all over the world who have picked up on making sure that letterpress is shared with people, because we hear all the time how much it's a dying art. We're not dead yet, so we hope it sticks around long past our lifetimes, but to kind of give a throwback to the traditional side of letterpress and merge it with what's happening in the art world, I think is quite quite wonderful, and it's not something people see every day. So I love being able to do that, and it's much easier for me to print in a different manner. This is a much slower, more expensive, harder process, but that's probably one of the best things about being a printer is you get to experience that whole process from start to finish.
The Red Door Press also carries their own poster and greeting card line that you can shop from online, in studio, or around one of the local markets, or available, of course, for wholesale. Check out the reddoorpress.com. Next, we'll speak with an artist who often hears, "No way, you did that?" Jay Vigon is acclaimed worldwide for his innovative graphics. He is a graduate of the Art Center College of Design and is considered one of the most influential graduates. Jay earned his reputation by applying distinctively bold graphics to logo design, music packaging, and fashion advertising. His clients include Lucasfilms, Warner Brothers, the University of California, Irvine, and Gotcha Sportswear.
I've had a long and varied life in the art world, and I've started out with graphic design and logo work. I've wound up doing over 1,000 logos now, but I've also directed national TV commercials for a number of years, like Mercedes and Lexus and all kinds of different things. Painting, you name it. I like to switch things around, and it keeps things going. I like to move on to things and discovery, see if I can find something that turns into a bigger project. I can't say what I like the best because I usually like what I'm doing at the time. I guess one of the most famous, well, there's a few that almost everybody would know. One is Purple Rain. I did all the custom graphics for that. Worked with George Lucas on Revenge of the Jedi, which I later made into Return of the Jedi. And worked with logos for Tom Petty and Fleetwood Mac, Stevie Wonder, John Bon Jovi, Van Halen. There's so many I can't actually remember all of them, but yeah, the logos keep mounting up. Like I say, over 1,000. Somehow, even when I was very young in grade school, I knew I wanted to be an artist. I just knew it. And I became known as the school artist. And then one of the teachers told my parents, maybe you should let them have art lessons outside of school. So I started doing art lessons when I was still in single digits. And from there, it just progressed and progressed and progressed through all the years. And then going into the Art Center College of Design, one of the most well-known in the world. And I just kept on going and going. It's kind of a funny thing because I never quite know what I'm doing. And I find that when I stop thinking too much, I start getting better ideas. I know that might sound a little bit strange, but it is the way I work. It's the way I've always worked. And almost all of the pieces in here were just done out of inspiration, like a personal inspiration that I don't have a specific thing in mind when I'm starting. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. So the good thing is I'm good at throwing things away if I know it's not good, but then I also know when something is good. Margot was the painter. I was still am the designer, but that incorporates a lot. It's setting up photo sessions, it's doing all the liner notes, and sometimes there's booklets that have to be put together. You name it, we do the whole thing, you know, from the logos, soup to nuts. Well, we met in art school, the Art Center College of Design back in California, and we've been working together now for 48 years, married 44, and we have a great relationship, and we really help each other out with our artwork. So we're each other's best critics, which is a very good thing to have, because she trusts me and I trust her to be telling the truth about stuff. I love to work. I can't stand not working. I can't just sit around and do nothing. So, that's why I'm in the studio just 6 or 7 times a week, all day long. And you know, now that the kids are grown up and all of that, you know, I have the time to just keep plugging away at what I do, which I've been doing for now over 50 years. It's something that's unique in the art world, as far as I can remember, a place where people can have a studio that is reasonable and, you know, around the country, what I've seen is that artists get into a loft or a building somewhere, but then people come in and price them out, and they have to keep looking around for other places to work, and they tend to have to keep going farther and farther away from the center of what's going on. Whereas Mainframe, we are right in the center of Des Moines. And it's great. It's a unique thing that I wish would happen in more cities. Well, I am looking forward to the Mainframe getting a lot of people in here after all the work is done and all of the dust and everything has gone away. Then we start getting some really, really great artists in here and make this, you know, one of the most interesting places in the country for art. I would really like that.
And finally, we had to ask, what hasn't Jay done and what's next for him?
There's a building out in the State Fair that I'm doing a logo for, and a lot of other graphics. It's going to be t-shirts and coasters and you name it, all kinds of stuff. I've got a few things that I'm working on the computer, although most of my work starts with sketchbooks, and I'm usually doing that in the evening and in the morning, and coming back to the studio and then working on my sketches and building up to make sure that everything is just right. Sometimes it's difficult to get people to understand what I'm doing, you know, the process. It sometimes makes people a little crazy, but in the end, it all works out. And this one happens to have a kind of a Western quality to it, and it should be a lot of fun.
Thanks for watching this episode of Movement at Mainframe on MC22. In the following weeks, we'll be featuring more Des Moines artists and their unique talent. For more information on the artists, visit mainframestudios.org.